Hello and welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Renovators, the business advisory show for real estate professionals. My name's Chanell and this is Rex.
How are you, Chanell?
It's going to be a warm day, Rexy again, but I'm really looking forward to the guests that we've got on. Life is good.
Life should always be good. I'm really excited for our first guest. Offshoring. I think a lot of businesses in Australia should, even my business, and I'm in law, but and clients I work with do a lot of offshoring because the cost of labor overseas is a lot cheaper than Australia. It's a great way to build your business, build systems and processes in place. And I think very few companies can get this right unless you put a lot of resources in training and resourcing the staff overseas. So today we've got, you can introduce our guest, but one of the premier people in this space that can help all real estate offices with the offshoring part, and not just help recruit, but help train and deliver and do a holistic end-to-end solution for them. Mm-hmm. Do you want to introduce that guest?
Absolutely. I'd like to introduce Nick from Wingman Group. How are you, Nick?
I'm really, really well. Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling in the hot seat?
Oh, hot.
Yeah. We say that not metaphorically either, do we? It's very hot in there.
No, it's good. Pleasure to be here. And as I said, thanks for having me.
No, our pleasure, Nick. I want to start with when we originally were speaking about Wingman Group, you really talked about wanting to humanize offshoring. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so a lot of our competitors in the space treat and sort of have this vision of the offshore team as sort of technology or bots in the background doing your admin. One of the things when the founder of our business, Jonathan, launched Wingman was he wanted to humanize the industry, and that all came off the back of a trip to the Philippines himself, and he saw they were actually human beings. He saw the quality of the human beings and really wanted to humanize it and bring it back to Australia. Our whole ethos at Wingman is to change the perception of offshoring. We spent a lot of time, money and resources on really detailed marketing, showcasing the human side of the Philippines. And that's sort of been very, very much at the forefront of our marketing and our social media. So showcasing the human beings in the Philippines to show Australia and the world the quality of the work that they can do for businesses.
And what work do they do? So if I'm a real estate office and I come to you and I want this support, what offshoring solutions can you provide me?
So the offshoring, the way I look at offshore, I'll flip it back. So I'll flip it back to Australia. I'm 22 years in the real estate industry.
You don't show it.
So I've seen everything from like a small property management startup all the way through to a big corporate role in my last role. And in my opinion, the only thing that you should be doing in Australia is building relationships and closing deals. So dollar productive or relationship building, whether that be property management or sales or even marketing and accounts. If it's building a relationship or dollar productive, you should be doing it here in Australia. Everything else should be stripped away and given to a third party. I can say that very confidently because we've built a very extensive academy in the Philippines where we're actually training the staff before they set foot here in a business in Australia.
Academy.
Well, I think before we head into the academy, Rex, I think it's really critical that we touch on that point, because you and I had a conversation in our pre-Zoom where we talked about the fact that you're not trying to take away Australian jobs, and you wanted to make that really clear. Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I think what we need to look at offshoring is underpinning businesses.
Yeah.
So whether it be a high-performing sales agent, a sales agent just starting, or a property manager or a head of department, whatever it is in the real estate space, I think you need to understand what the vision is of the business. So I'll give you an example. So if you're a property management business and you want to go from 200 managements to 1,000, how are you going to get there? So do you need to put on BDMs? Do you need to acquire rent rolls? Like what is the strategy? And that's where we come in. So we're not just an offshoring business. We are a business that will come and meet with you, understand what your current reality is, and then help you with a plan to get to whatever that vision is.
So a consultancy kind of role.
It's sort of consultancy, but we can do it. Like, we're not a consultancy, but we can do it because we have a rent roll ourselves. So we've got a rent roll that's gone from 0 to 3,000 managements organically in 5.5 years.
That is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you grow that rent roll?
The VAs.
Is it
Yeah.
VA?
Well, it's not the VAs.
Oh, not
so
VAs.
it's the VAs are the backbone of the business,
Correct.
but we have stripped away everything from our team here in Australia. So our BDMs, who are doing 30 to 35 managements a month, do not do anything that's not dollar productive or relationship building. They don't even send out management agreements. They don't put properties online. They don't do rental appraisal letters. They have to check it before it goes to the client, but they're not doing it. So everything is done by the offshore team member, and it's underpinning them to spend more time doing the things that are going to shift the needle in the business. And that goes the same as sales agents. It goes the same as accounts. Anything that's got a process behind it that doesn't need to be a face-to-face task can be offshore.
And how do you, can we go back to this academy? Because to do that infrastructure and the training, it's not easy training someone overseas to integrate into your team and to be able to work with your team.
And language barriers as well.
Yeah. So it's a whole operation. To add another layer of complexity to that, we don't have an office in the Philippines.
Okay.
So our whole
All work from home.
so we're pushing up towards 1,000 staff now offshore.
Wow.
Complete work from home model, which has its challenges. But going back to the academy, one of the things that we noticed was a big gap in the offshoring space was the quality of the staff. And a lot of the time, an offshore person will come into a business, and the actual business in Australia will be like, "What do I get them to do?" So there's 2 parts to it. One of them is the academy, and the academy is a 10 to 12 week program. So I'll go back to the recruitment phase. So we're putting about 1,000 offshore or 1,000 Filipinos into an academy every single month.
But how do you recruit the Filipinos?
So we've got a recruitment team in there that are doing interviews every day. So getting them from an inquiry into the recruitment phase. So that's 1,000 a month going in. There's 18 million people in Manila. So there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So 1,000 a month go into the academy, but very quickly that gets dwindled down. So if they're late to a Zoom call, if they fail a module, like we're very quick to start again. At the end of it, it's about 150 end up graduating from the academy from that 1,000.
Wow.
So there's a lot of churn that goes through, but that academy goes through.
It's quality control as well.
Quality control, right? So the academy day one is everything from what is a tenant, what is a landlord, really basic stuff, all the way through to how to use Agent Box, how to use Realtor. We've got deals with all the major softwares and CRMs that we use here in Australia. And by the end of the academy, they've got a very good understanding of all of the CRMs and platforms in the real estate industry in Australia.
Wow.
So what happens from there is they go into a pool ready to be deployed into businesses across Australia. Once the Australian business selects their offshore team member, they go into specialized training. So my Australian team will do a download for that business of what CRMs and platforms they specifically use. And then we do a specialized training with that offshore team member. Could be anywhere from 5 days to 2 weeks. And then they're ready to be deployed into the Australian business. So they've got a very good understanding. And that's why our processes and our business is very bespoke to every single business.
And are the VAs employed by you that you then contract to the agency, or are they employed by the agency themselves?
No, they're employed by us.
Employed by you.
Okay. But we encourage the Australian business to treat them like they're their own team member. So include them in sales meetings, communicate with them like you would communicate your Australian team. That's where we find the gold with the Philippines and Australia, is when the Australian business sees them as an equal. That's when you get the gold. That's when you get the loyalty. That's when you get the hard work, all that kind of stuff that you would value here in Australia. And then the second part to that is our Australian team. So we've got a big team in Australia. One of the biggest gaps in offshoring, or one of the biggest challenges in offshoring, is the Australians not knowing how to utilize their offshore team.
That's what I was going to say. It would be so hard for an agent. It sounds like you've got a great training system where your offshore team is well trained, but from an Australian business owner, how do they implement that is the hard part.
Well, that's the implementation is the biggest factor. So we've got a team in Australia that will actually implement the offshore team into the Australian business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've got everything from like some packages where our team will zoom into the Australian team and the Philippines team and make sure that transition happens really, really smoothly, all the way through to I will fly my Australian team to your office 3 or 4 days to do the integration for you. So it's a full-scale holistic service, as you mentioned, Rex. And at the core of it, it's how we're going to help Australian businesses grow. And the biggest problem in era recruitment, it's recruitment, retention, and profitability. Like the three, they've always been the biggest challenges especially in the real estate space. And we've found that this is a really great solution.
It's so interesting because when you look at a lot of Australian businesses now, particularly with the minimum wages increasing and you know the issues that people have with staffing and particularly post-COVID, it's really difficult to find good employees. And when you look at the administrative sides of real estate offices, they're not producing any dollar value.
Yeah.
So if you can bring on a team that's essentially going to lower that bottom line and keep that P&L sort of at a medium level, but continue to be able to grow your business, this is such a viable option. So a lot of clients can't afford to pay $80,000 for a sales administrator or multiple sales administrators. Nick and I were speaking before and we were talking about recruitment. And he said it's difficult to find, like, how do you headhunt sales agents to go to other offices? And I said to Nick, well, one of the biggest factors is that when we headhunt, we say that, you know, you're a $250,000 rider. If we bring you over to Ray White, Buxton, whatever brand we're headhunting for, they'll pay for your PA or your EA for, you know, X amount of time to sort of, you know, allow you to increase your GCI, focus on listing and selling and remove all that back end work. Whereas realistically, I mean, this is for shooting myself in the foot a little bit here, you could employ a Wingman Group and get a team of VAs under an agent that could then increase their GCI and potentially retain team members in your business if you don't have the funds available to provide or pay for an EA or PA for your agent.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I think where the absolute gold happens is not shooting yourself in the foot. So the best agents that we're working with at the moment are agents who are selling, the lead agent who is just listing and selling and doing, like, just doing deals. They've got a business manager or someone that sits in the office who puts the polish on all the relationship stuff.
Correct.
Checks everything that goes out. And then there's a wingman person sitting underneath them.
Yeah.
Doing the work.
Churning away at the work. So like, I'll give you an example. So there's an agent up in Brisbane, Alex Jordan, one of the best agents in the country. He's been doing 10 million GCI for the last 5 years. Amazing agent. He's got one wingman that sits underneath his business manager and 5 or 6 associates that sit underneath him. And things like call lists, uploading properties online, brochures, signboards, booking photos, all that kind of stuff is done by the offshore team member. And then the business manager is the one that's arranging it with arranging it with the vendor, checking the brochure before it goes out. So all of the stuff that needs to be checked, but there's someone there in the Philippines who knows that process of that EBU, involved in all the WhatsApp groups, knows where every campaign is up to. So someone just keeping everything in check. So yeah, that's where we find the best utilization, because quite often salespeople, being salespeople, having a direct offshore team member, it does work with the right connection, but quite often it's, oh, I need this done, and they haven't actually specified exactly how they want it done to their offshore team member, because it's just by nature, they're just so busy and there's a lot going on and they're fast paced. Where really, if you give the offshore team member some parameters on, this is exactly how I like my signboards done, my brochures done, my copy written, then away they go. So it's really about setting a structure. And if there's someone that sits under the lead sales agent, that's where the gold absolutely happens.
That's the integration piece that you guys help with, I suppose, isn't it? Because if you go to a sales agent, they're not going to know how to integrate it into it.
As soon as a sales agent hears process and systems, and like, they just zone out.
Yeah. Onboarding. Yeah. It's not really.
And I can say that because I'm naturally a salesperson, so I don't have an operational bone in my body, but we've got an amazing operational team in our organization. So they're the ones that set all of that up.
But I think in sales, I think it's any sales, especially real estate, I think it's a people it's a relationship
Yeah,
business. It's
yeah.
nothing more. So if you can get your salespeople just focused on relationships and do
Well, you
everything else.
can't. That's the thing, right? I mean, I don't mean to sound disrespectful in any capacity, but when I get a phone call and it's someone from overseas, I hang up the phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm dealing with somebody or I'm paying for a service and I'm not getting someone that's local, I sometimes find it really difficult with the communication barriers. Or if I'm being cold
This
called.
means that the relationship is
That's right with the
Yeah.
agent, but
Yeah.
behind the scenes, then you've got, an entire team. I've got a VA who does everything administrative for my business. She does all of our profiles. She does back end. She creates our call lists for us, and she's changed my life.
Yeah.
I only have one.
Yeah.
And now speaking to you, I'm probably going to definitely speak to
more?
you about having a few
Yeah.
more, but they're exceptional. But I wouldn't get her on the phone speaking to my clients because she doesn't know them.
It's really interesting because that reaction is the general consensus.
Yeah.
Like everyone's always talks about like the Optus call center, the
Yeah.
Vodafone, like there's a stigma around it,
Yeah.
which is like, if you have a look at our socials, that's why we've tried to humanize it, because those calls that you get from Optus and stuff are very robotic.
Correct.
You know that they're speaking off a script.
Correct.
You know that they've been told what to say, and there's no personality behind it. One of the big things that we do when for someone to select an offshore is we provide them with 3 options: a little 30-second video, a resume, and some other tests that we do. And then once they select that option, we actually set them up on a Zoom call and they have a conversation with that offshore team member to really the personalities could just clash. At the end of the day, they're human beings, right? So it's no different to hiring someone in Australia who's working from home. And we all know that's very sort of front of mind at the moment. So it's really about the personality type. I mean, I went through 6 options before I landed on Anne, who's my current PA, and she's amazing. Like I just instantly clicked with her because we jumped on the Zoom call. She cracked a joke. It was very relaxed. I'm pretty relaxed. So when you find that gold and you click with that offshore team member, and they don't have to be client facing. I mean, in our real estate business, we've actually got a tenant concierge where the tenants can call from 7 till 7 and that phone is answered by Richard. Richard is in the Philippines. He's got an American accent. He used to sell penny stocks on Wall Street.
Oh, wow.
So
Hey, Richard.
Wall Street kind of
yeah, that's cool, really cool. And he's exactly like he is on the phone as he is in person. We've had people come to the Housemark office in Brisbane saying, "Can I speak to Richard?"
Yeah.
So like, you do find those offshore people that are really, really good.
Yeah, of course.
But like as a starting point, I wouldn't recommend to go client facing first. Like Anne now calls my clients, reschedules my meetings, but there was a period of about 4 or 5 months where I wasn't comfortable with that. But now I am. So it's a really,
like any employee though, right? It takes time before you can build that trust and allow
Yeah.
them to speak to your clients.
exactly.
What happens if they don't work out, Nick? Do you have some form of replacement guarantee or how does that work?
Yeah, we'll if they're not working out, we'll just we'll replace them, and that's as brutal as that sounds. That's something that we're really focused on. So we have regular check-ins with the offshore team member and the Australian business, especially in that first 4 to 6 weeks. That's the most crucial part, and quite often we identify that the actual gap is the Australian business not checking in with their offshore team member the perfect way to do it is do a 15 to 30 minute dial in with it every morning with the offshore team member. This is what my day looks like. This is what I expect. This is what I need done. That's what Anne does for me. Every morning we jump on a call. Nick, these are your appointments today. Do you need anything prepared? And then throughout the day, I'll communicate with her via voice notes. And I've just met Rex. I need a appraisal sent for $1 million to 1.2. Can you please set it up? Draft an email up and it pops up in my draft.
This is so we need these.
we do.
You don't need an EA anymore.
I do have some VAs as well. One of my teams. Yeah, they're
So interesting.
the best employees to have. Honestly, the most loyal,
Yeah.
hard-working employees in my.
They really are.
Yeah. And as much as this sounds, it's not corny, but as much as we're talking about VAs and what we've done as a business, I can't explain to you the feeling you get when we're actually in the Philippines. It's very much online at the moment, a lot of phone calls, a lot of like Zooms and Teams calls, but there's a feeling when you actually get in the Philippines and you're meeting them face to face, and you actually realize
Change their lives.
they're family, they're family people, they're so grateful to be working for an Australian business because of the time difference. It's only a 3-hour time difference between here in the Philippines. Their other option is to work for an American business, and that's the graveyard shift. So they're working all night. They're very family-oriented people. So they like to spend a lot of time with their family, the kids, the grandparents often live in the same homes as them. So if they can finish at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Australian time, they still get to spend the afternoon with their children. They can cook dinner. It's a very sort of tight-knit community vibe over
Very
there.
beautiful, Nick, because I think it's a topic of contention, offshoring, and as opposed to taking away Australian jobs, you're actually strengthening Australian businesses and creating opportunities for a lot of people in a third world country that would never get opportunities like this. So I think it's great that you're humanizing this, and I understand what you meant now when you said to me in the Zoom, we want to humanize the offshoring, and I totally get it now.
Yeah.
Because it's people just instantly like, I'm not going to offshore, I'm going to support Australians, I'm going to support Australian businesses. And you are actually supporting Australian businesses because they wouldn't be able to afford the support that they need to take it to the next level.
Well, the biggest way we're helping Australian businesses is by making them more profitable, giving their current team more opportunity. Like at the end of the day, if businesses aren't growing, people aren't going to grow. So if we can get an agent from 200,000 to 400,000 with the support of a VA, providing call lists and its time is the biggest commodity, right? So if the remote professional can strip away, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 hours a week from that sales agent, what is that sales agent filling that time up with? They should be filling it up with prospecting, listing presentations.
Or maybe, Nick, even work-life balance, because that's the number one reason agents leave the industry. It's why we don't have enough quality agents. If we look at the number one reason PMs and sales agents, it's balance, because it's so you were a sales agent, now you've got 3 children. It's difficult. You have to be go, and you're working 6 days a week. So even if not
Sometimes
that they, but even if it's not that they're taking away, so you can focus more. It could be that you can focus more with your family. And you've got teams that are taking away sort of mundane tasks that are taking up your time as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Like one of our biggest clients, I think she's up to about 20 offshore.
Wow.
She runs a huge operation in
Can
Perth.
I ask how many Australian employees does she have?
Pushing up towards 100.
100 and then 20 offshore. Okay.
And she always frames it like the remote professionals, the wingman team, are actually allowing my team to go home to their families. So she says that to her team. So she's taken very much a leaf out of our book at Housemark, and she's underpinned that whole business with offshore. And yeah, she said, we were up in Perth last week, and she said, Wingman allows my team to go home to their families, which I think so. It's a really beautiful way to put it.
You seem very proud of the business owners. You're really proud. I can see it coming off. It's a really incredible business. You should be super proud of yourself, Nick. And I know I don't know about you, Rexy, but I'm in recruitment. I get clients asking me all of the time, can you recommend a good VA? Can you recommend a good VA? And my poor VA is now pimped out to 5 different companies. I'm like, I should be, you've got it too. Well, actually profiting off, no, I would never do that to her. But I'm so glad that we've connected and Rex has introduced us, because this is going to change a lot of my clients' businesses and probably their lives as well. So I'm really excited to introduce you to a lot of my clients. I think there's so much opportunity in Victoria. And I mean, I'm sure you've made a really good presence here, but a lot of my clients don't know about you yet. So it's super
exciting. You, Victoria, to some extent.
Yeah, so the business is only 18 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's Jonathan Bell, who's my business partner, actually started Housemark 5.5 years ago, which is a property management business, from his bedroom.
This is the one that's got 3,000 properties under management.
Yeah, and he's also the one that founded Wingman. So he started Housemark from his bedroom, and when he got to about 60 managements, he thought, he was doing everything from leasing to new business, and he thought to himself, I need some support. He met someone who really utilizes the Philippines in another business, and met a lady by the name of Jess Villa. Jess was the first ever Wingman employee or Housemark employee. And
in Australia or Philippines?
No, in the Philippines. And Johnny and Jess just were sharing each other's screen for 12 hours a day, working together. And it just developed. Johnny had such an amazing experience with the Philippines. He then employed Jess's husband, Jess's sister. So he had 3 Filipino staff before he actually had any staff in Australia. You get to meet him tomorrow.
tomorrow.
And then it just grew from there. So he's in his mind, he's like, how are these people, how are the Filipinos not across every business in Australia? They've been so amazing for him and his property management business. And that's where Wingman was born. So he was the theory behind humanizing it and doing all that kind of stuff. But the last 12 months, that's where we've scaled. And Jess Villa now runs our training academy.
And you've gone in 18 months to 1,000.
Just under 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've last year was really
growth.
Yeah, it's been a huge growth. We're very proud of that. So we're proud of working with close to 700 businesses across Australia and New Zealand now, pushing up towards 1,000 staff. But the thing that really hits home for us is 1,000 staff, but 1,000 lives that we're changing in the Philippines. When you go over there and they're like, oh, we can put our kids through schools. We've just bought a car. We've just bought a house. Like stuff that we just take for granted here. It's creating a huge impact over there. And that's one of the reasons why when I started at Wingman, Johnny flew me over to the Philippines before I'd agreed to join. And I sat at the airport with him and I said, at the time there was 75 staff. I sat there with him and I said, we're going to explode this thing. But next year I want Australian businesses to come and see and feel what I've just experienced over the last week. And we achieved that last year. So we had 45 Australian staff, Australian businesses come over with us, and about 350 VAs attend our conference. And any one of those officers that came with us, they got to feel and meet and actually press the flesh with their VAs and their remote professionals. And it's just a beautiful thing. So you guys should definitely come with us this year.
I wonder, can we touch on, Wingman just doesn't do this VAs and support businesses. You got a profit summit coming up. Can we touch on this profit summit? Yeah.
So the core of everything that we do is we want to help businesses grow, add value to every single business, every single conversation. We've got an amazing team here in Australia from all different aspects. So our operations, our CEO used to run a big multinational organization. I've got 22 years in the real estate industry. Johnny Bell is one of the smartest business minds I've never seen. So there's a lot of elite people in our organization. And when we speak to businesses, obviously the hook is we've grown from 0 to 3,000 managements in 5.5 years. That gets people sort of, oh my God, what are they doing? And like the answer to that's pretty simple. It's just stripping away everything that's not going to shift the needle in your business, right?
Yeah.
Just that ultimately in any business, if you meet more people, you build more relationships, you do more deals. Like it's not in any business really, like any business is a relationship building exercise. I'm a very big believer in people just want to do business with people that they like.
Yeah.
And business is a lot more easy and fun when you do that, right?
Totally.
Can't ever say.
So they're adding value to every single business that we come in contact with.
But you guys do more than that. Yes, I think dealing with you now, you're very personable. So we want to work with you because you're personal, but you also see as industry leaders now because of these summits that you put together, these full day.
Yeah, I didn't answer your question. No. So the reason for so we do events all over Australia. We run about 10 a year. We call them roadshows. The roadshow is, we'll actually give you the playbook on how we've built that property management business. The whole playbook. So this is how we do operations, new business. We have the GM, property managers give you the playbook. That started with 10 people around a boardroom table about 14 months ago. And we did it around a boardroom table. We had some not horrible sandwiches. It was very, very average. Last week we had, and that's evolved. So last week we had 120 people at a beautiful hotel in Perth.
With some nice sandwiches.
But the Profit Summit was born the start of December. I was having dinner with Johnny and Tom Panos, and they both. Tom was like, "You guys should really do a conference. Get an amazing speaker lineup, and just you're adding so much value to the industry. You're working with all the best agents and agencies and CEOs across the country. Get them all in a room, and put a wingman spin on it. The next day, Johnny said to me, we're doing it.
Yeah.
The day after that, we had speakers all lined up and we're looking for a venue. So we moved really quickly. The one thing that we didn't take into consideration, because we just moved so quickly, is there was Christmas and New Year's and we only had like 6 weeks to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So we're in a
You got 500.
500 people. Like, it's going to be an amazing day. But the
Minus
whole,
the cyclone.
minus the cyclone.
Yes.
So when it
everyone's-
films, everything is still okay.
Hopefully everyone's okay. But the whole ethos behind what we do is to add value. And we want tomorrow to add value to businesses all across Australia and have some fun as well.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Nick, they say the best businesses are not just creating a business, it's about finding a problem and then creating a solution. And you've created an exceptional solution to a problem that most businesses in Australia have. So you should be incredibly proud of yourself and the business that you've created. I'd love to keep chatting, but my producer's here just going like this silently in my eye. And I also know you have somewhere to be at 11:30. But Nick, thank you so much for today. We will leave all of Nick's details on how to contact Wingman Group. I highly recommend it. I'm going to be speaking to him after this and getting myself a few more VAs because they're the best employees I've ever had. They've never broken up with their boyfriends or called in sick. So with my teams watching this, take note, guys. But no, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see where Wingman grows. If it's been 18 months and you're at 900, God knows where you're going to be in another 18 months.
Yeah.
Insane. So thank you so much, Nick.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we'll see you on the next episode of Real Estate Renovators. Bye for now.